Welcome back, my friends. It is John and Pablo this week with another episode of Más que un podcast. We are leading the headlines with Xavi said yes to one more year at Barcelona. It's a surprise to me. I didn't think it was going to happen, but Xavi is staying on for another year, so we're going to be talking about reactions to that. We haven't heard from Pablo in a couple of weeks. We're going to start off with how he's feeling about things. Things were looking a little bit different last time we all had our conversation pre-PSG and El Clasico. So we're going to catch up on things there. Again, talking mostly about Xavi. If you are catching us for the first time, welcome. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts, your questions down in the comments. Drop a like, show some love and support for the channel. With that out of the way, let's dive into things. Pablo, how you been, sir?
Yeah, been good, been busy. Been a tough few weeks for the club, I think. Yeah, you're right. The last time I was on the podcast, I'm just thinking, I thought it was actually after the PSG first thing. Was it even before the PSG first thing the last time I was on? I think I wasn't on the Sunday after we beat PSG away and then beat Cadiz. And then I don't think I was on after, obviously, we lost to PSG and lost to Real Madrid. So since I was last on, a lot has happened. It's been a tough few weeks for the club. I personally feel as if the season took off again after it sort of wasn't going anywhere. All of a sudden, the Champions League draw came out. It was a very favourable draw for Barcelona. Barcelona would have been playing Dortmund in the semi-finals for a chance in the final. That is gold dust in a Champions League season. PSG were a side they could have, should have beaten, had the lead against them away, had the lead against them at Montjuic. 2-goal advantage and it all collapsed. And even La Liga, I don't think we would have won La Liga even if we won the Clásico. But,
True.
Had we knocked out PSG, it could have been a different game. And even having been defeated 4-1 to PSG, Barca still could have and probably should have won that game. So, really difficult few weeks for the club to take. Of course it is. Like I said, season felt like it was ignited again and then just slumped out of nowhere. So, yeah, difficult one to process. And obviously difficult one to be in and around the club for already. Everyone obviously takes a bit of a hit from that, but after being quite excited again, maybe for one of the first times this season. So, yeah, tough one for everyone. But hey, out of nowhere again, it's all out of nowhere. Xavi's staying.
Yes, indeed. And Laporta seems to have a knack for pulling a rabbit out of the hat when we need a little bit of good news. So he does it again. Xavi's staying. What do we think is going to be different for next year, right? I know this season we dealt with a lot of injuries. Gavi, of course, Balde, Ter Stegen was out for a big chunk of the first part of the season. But early on, we were struggling, right? Like I remember back for some of our first episodes because we got a late start. I don't think we started till October, but
Yeah.
By that time, we were already seeing some cracks in the armor, right? I think going from Koundé at right back to Cancelo at right back and having to balance Balde and Cancelo, that to me stood out as one of the challenges for Xavi, was that little shift there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? What's on your radar for maybe changes or things that he's going to have to consider going into next season?
Yeah, it's such an odd one to think of now, really, because I think we all sort of thought it worked quite well, really well last year overall, with the way Barca won La Liga, with the way they defended, with the way they turned into more of a winning team. Champions League, of course, didn't go well in the group stages, but it was a good year for Barca. This year hasn't gone the way we expected it to, with the signings we made and whatnot, and with how we've been off the pace in all four competitions. And obviously he'd announced he was leaving, and we start thinking about new managers, new styles, new players who come in. And all of a sudden, not at the time I thought he'd turn around and say he's going to stay. He says he will. I thought, if anything, I actually thought after we got knocked out to PSG and after we lost to Real Madrid, I thought, now he'll definitely leave. Now he'll definitely not turn around. I thought there was a time beforehand where John, I thought he was maybe now he'll, because we were doing better in La Liga, we'd won a few games, we hadn't lost in 13, we beat PSG away. You thought, okay, yeah, you can see him maybe getting tempted. It then surprised me that after Barca lost to PSG and after they lost to Real Madrid, after the season was over, he then said, no, now I feel like I have the strength to continue. I personally think he didn't want to go out on such a difficult note with the club. I also think he felt a lot of pressure from Laporta, obviously, and stuff. And I think the main reason is that I think he wants to give it another shot. I think he feels that he's got it in him to go one more time, actually, and that maybe that decision after Villarreal was a spur of the moment decision, and actually looking at it, he probably thinks Barcelona are closer than he maybe thought. Champions League, Barca could have been in the final quite easily this year. We were there, we're ready, we've got the players, we've got the team. And La Liga, I think, we look back to a number of games could have gone differently. I think that's personally the reason Xavi's turned around and said he's going to stay. But in terms of next season, I think obviously things have to change. Transfer market, number one, Xavi will be looking at. We'll see how many finances we have is always the big question. So Xavi has to see what he can do in the market. I'm sure he'll be trying to bring in players. A DM and a left wing remain the priorities for me. Don't know about you, John, but they do for me. And other than that, perfecting that game model, we have to be better defensively. I don't know what happened this season defensively after we were so good defensively last season. We have to get better at that, controlling games more instead of them getting to end. And then the other thing is the big moments like the PSG game, like when we're 1-0 up, 4-2 up an aggregate, even after we went down to 10 men, to let that slip and like collapse in the way we did, almost felt like the ghosts from the past were ringing in our head more than like letting the football do the talking. And we have to get over that hump we've got right now. So those would be the big challenges, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. You said a lot of good things there. I want to circle back to the timing of it all. The timing of it is weird for me, not because I expected it maybe earlier. I think the reason why he didn't even give a hint that he was going to stay is because that the pressure's right back on the players, right? So I think that's why it kind of being knocked out of Champions League, losing El Clasico,
Right.
all but being done with La Liga gives him the green light to say it. But it is still, it feels weird that he would say it now and not wait until the end of the season. It makes me think that he actually made the decision to stay much earlier. Like I don't think it was okay now that we're knocked out of Champions League and now that okay, I'll reconsider. Unless it is like you said, like okay, maybe his competitive side was ignited. He doesn't want to go out that way. He saw the possibility of Champions League and how close we really are, and he wants to give it one more year. But to me, I think he made the decision to stay much earlier and just didn't want to put the pressure back on. Because if not, right, if he does make that decision post Champions League exit, my concern would be that it's actually a little bit hasty and that maybe he should have let that marinate a little bit, get to the end of the season, and then decide. I don't want Xavi coming back in August and maybe by September being like, well, this was stupid. This was the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. Do you think there's any haste in his decision, or you think this is well thought out by Xavi?
I think he's probably just. I think a big reason. I think you're right. I think you made really good points, by the way. I think that's spot on. But I think because he's such a culé, I think he feels the support of the fans massively. He feels the support of the players massively, which is really big. It's not one of those where the players are like, we can't wait till this guy's gone. They seem to really be on his side, which is obviously a good thing. Laporta is just been adamant for him to stay for a long, long, long time now. And I just think he doesn't want to let all of these people combine down is a big reason as well. And I think you look at Barcelona, obviously, in the market. I mean, who are Barca going to get in? That was a big worry for a lot of people was, who are Barca going to get in as coach? Who was there really on the market who you thought like, yeah, that's the next Barca manager? No one. You can have others for certain regions like Tuchel, maybe because he's more of a winner. Would he be a Barca manager? I'm not sure. Rafa Marquez, I don't think, gave many people that much, excitement, I suppose, despite him doing a brilliant job of the B team this season. Hansi Flick again, is he a Barca manager? De Zerbi, can he manage a big club? So we haven't listed a name there who, unites everyone. Luis Enrique isn't leaving PSG. So that's a big reason for it as well.
Yeah, I think, and I forget who all was on the list, but there's going to be a number of clubs I think that are looking for a manager come this summer. Yeah. So even the names on the short list for Barcelona might get snagged by somebody else.
Yeah,
and I agree with you. I don't know if in all of our conversation, I don't know if there's really a clear standout.
No,
we go, yep, that's the one. And I got to tell you, if it wasn't going to be Xavi, I think we were going to end up with Rafa Marquez.
Yeah,
I really do. I think that's the direction it was going to go. Now that it's Xavi, I'm wondering what beyond next year looks like. I know I'm getting way ahead of ourselves. We haven't even technically finished this season yet, but what if we're in the exact same position next season, right? Spring of 2025, we're looking at a strong Champions League run. La Liga isn't out of reach, right? Are we saying Xavi stays, or are we seeing if maybe someone like a Jurgen Klopp wants to come back and get back in the game?
Exactly. Depends on how Barca are doing. If Barca do well, I could see Xavi renewing, by the way. But it depends on how Barca are doing. And, of course it does. I mean, you got Luis Enrique. Well, he might be free by then. PSG
Yeah,
might go out in the round of 16 next year. So Luis
Pep
Enrique.
Guardiola.
I genuinely don't think he'll come back. Pep.
No, that would be weird going from Xavi to Pep too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Xavi would want to little brother himself like that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it immediately puts him in Pep's shadow
Yeah.
wherever he goes. Not that he's not, but it would be a weird uh hey Xavi, thanks for keeping the seat warm for me
Yeah.
kind of handoff. You know what I mean?
Anyway, I just can't see it happening genuinely in any way.
What about Jurgen Klopp? Is there a future where maybe he comes over and is managing the Blaugrana?
I actually reckon, potentially, yeah. Potentially, where else would he go after Liverpool? Like the German national team, Bayern
Hmm.
maybe, but I mean,
He said nowhere in England, right?
yeah, okay. Well, that rules out a lot, But
It really does. It really does. So you're talking, it's got it. He's gonna go somewhere that's playing in Champions League, right?
mhm.
I can't see him going to France. Why go back to Germany, right? Um, Italy, maybe he comes to I don't know, any of those clubs, Inter, a Juve, a Milan,
Yeah,
and sparks one of their clubs, right? I could see that. I could see that happening. Actually, Jurgen Klopp taking over AC Milan, that might be cool. But uh, in terms of the top clubs, the most elite with the most notoriety, the most prestige,
yeah.
right? If he wanted to go elite level, I don't see him at Real Madrid,
No,
particularly because I see more of a Xavi Alonso going to Real Madrid.
exactly. Yeah,
So
it's a
yeah,
genuine possibility.
I could get down on Jurgen Klopp versus Xavi Alonso for the next like 10 years or so. That'd be a
It-
fun one.
that's definitely something I'll think about. I think Laporta is also thinking, yeah, he didn't maybe have the options he wanted in the market, and he's going to wait a year and see who he's got. So, absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of impact is this going to have, you think, on players that are at the end of their contracts, right? Marcus Alonso is one situation, but particularly I'm thinking of Sergio Roberto, who's gotten a little bit of playing time in the midfield here towards the end of the season. I've always said that when he's in the midfield, he still has something to offer Barcelona. Keep him out of the right back position. What do you think with Xavi staying? Does this maybe give Sergio Roberto one more year at Barcelona as well?
I think if Xavi gets his way, it will. Yeah, it's whether Sergio agrees to it. But you'd imagine once they have a conversation, he would.
Yeah.
But I think Xavi would now like to renew Roberto. I think Alonso will leave, probably to an Atletico Madrid or something who will pick him up on a free agent. But I think Roberto, I think already we've heard rumours that Xavi would like to renew Roberto's contract, now that he's staying. And it's down to Sergio to make the decision. I heard Girona are potentially interested, so that's like he's got a way up. He might have more first
Yeah.
team football at Girona. Girona might say, come and be a staple in our midfield. It's a Champions League team now. And Xavi will be saying, play when the others are injured. So he's got to
Yeah.
weigh that up.
Yeah. Because well, what's Romeo's contract? Is he up at the end of this year? Does he have another
I think he'd have.
year? Do you
No,
know off the top of your head?
I think he's signed initially on a 3-year contract, but I think he'll leave.
Yeah, so sell him back to Girona,
Yeah,
right? Have Roberto stay on a contract, like you said, just rotate him in for injuries because we'll have Frankie, Pedri, Gavi, we'll have Fermin, we'll have Gundogan.
yeah,
I don't mind Roberto being the sixth,
yeah,
seventh after we sign another DM,
yeah,
right? If Sergio Roberto is our seventh midfielder, I'm okay with that.
yeah.
1 year contract, reasonable salary.
Yeah.
I say make it happen.
Yeah, I still think Barca need that DM. We talk about what they need in the summer. The DM. We heard rumours of Guido Rodriguez, by the way. Have you seen that in the last few days from Betis? On a
I did. I did.
that we've got that tied down. Apparently, that would be a free transfer, so that wouldn't be the signing in midfield. There would still be options for like an Onana or a Zubimendi. But hey, with our
Mhm.
financial situation, we don't know if that would even be possible. So it literally could end up being Guido as the guy who comes
Yeah.
in to be that DM next season. But I think Romeo will go because I think he wants to leave as well. To be fair, bless him. It hasn't gone the way he wanted. I don't think he's someone who wants to
Sure.
sit around and just be like,
Sure.
happy with not playing. I think he's like, it didn't work out. I'd rather go back to like someone like a Girona.
Yeah. Yeah. So, slightly smaller club that's going to appreciate his work ethic
Yeah,
and not put so much pressure on him and his technical abilities,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's not talking smack about him. It's another one of those situations with like Braithwaite. Just the player is what they are, and maybe we're asking a little bit too much in the role that we're asking them to play. So no hate, but yeah, he'll move on to a different club, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so okay then. I've said a couple of times, but I don't think I've said it with you on the podcast. So I specifically want to get your reaction because the more that I think about it, I was half joking the first time that I said this.
Oh God.
I was maybe a quarter joking the second time that I say this. I'm going to say this a third time now. I think Barcelona should sell Lewandowski this summer. And my reason is, despite his goal scoring output, his value is never going to be higher than this summer. And I don't think Barcelona are going to win Champions League with Lewandowski. I think it is a Luis Suarez at the end of his Barcelona career situation where he's going to get your goals. He's going to win you La Liga matches. But in the big matches where it's just him up top and we need you to be the man, you're not gonna be able to do it. So for those reasons, I say we cash in on Lewandowski this summer, even if it means that we don't have our proper number 9 settled. I'd rather get that cash. I'd rather give the experience to a Ferran Torres, to a Vitor Roque, to a Margui, and see where that lands us. How crazy am I for saying that?
It's a difficult one for me to comment on. But
I saw your smirk as soon as I said it.
I mean, look, there's decisions that have to be made up front. I think with Xavi staying, honestly, John, I think Lewandowski now stays.
Sure.
Fans might dislike or like that, but in my opinion, because of Xavi staying, the squad now stays relatively similar, bar one or two. Because I think Xavi has a trusted core that he likes. Talking about Sergio Roberto, Lewandowski's another one. I believe that. I think Lewandowski stays now. But what happens to Vitor Roque? We heard rumours of a loan. I don't think the club can afford that. This was a big bet from South America, from Deco and his team, to bring in this guy who's meant to be the next star number 9 in Europe
Yeah.
for a big fee for us right now. For me, this guy has to be playing. If that's the case, then we need to start betting on Vitor Roque because we don't have the money to be saying, "Oh, that's 30 million that didn't work out." We just do not.
Yeah.
That's the reason the Romeo signing is okay because it was only 3 million. We can move on from
Sure.
that. We cannot afford to be doing that with Vitor Roque, so we have to see what happens with him. And Marc Gui, I mean, I heard rumours of a loan to Sevilla. Apparently, again, now that Xavi's staying, he'll probably stay as well. But, there's not going to be many minutes in the first team for him either. So maybe as Lewandowski gets older, if he does stay, Barca will have to rotate. But, I mean, look, I'm sure your opinion is one that a lot of the fan base will have too. And, I'm sure it's a valid one.
Yeah. Where does Vitor Roque fit in right now? Like, let's without even signing another left wing, right?
Yeah.
Which, as you mentioned, is going to be a priority for
Yeah.
Barcelona. Um, we've got Lewandowski. I'm just thinking of the front three in the depth chart. We got Lewandowski, we got Rafinha, we got Lamine Yamal, we got Ferran Torres. Ansu's coming back as of now, right?
João Felix, what do they do with him?
If we bring him in on a loan or if we can get a cheap purchase, right? That we're talking that's 6 forwards. Where does Vitor Roque fall on that depth chart?
Exactly. But I think right now, pretty far down the bottom of it. I really do. And look, the only hope that he can have is if he stays next season and Lewandowski stays as well, is that Lewandowski's only getting older. That there'll be more
Yeah.
minutes, more chances. It'll be his first full season at the club, of course. He can start getting, hopefully, some starts there and build some confidence in that regard. And also starts in a full Barcelona team. So what I mean by that is like Vitor Roque, when he usually starts, he's in a cup team or he's in the fully rotated side we saw against Cadiz. If he's
Yeah.
there with Lamine with him and then Pedri and Gavi and De Jong behind him and Ferran or whoever's on left wing or Rafinha on the left, Cancelo providing balls from the back, then all of a sudden he's probably enjoying himself a little bit more. So I think Vitor Roque in that environment we have to see more of next season. But right now he falls deep in those depth charts. I think for João Felix as well. I don't think his loan gets renewed now.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, the most I think that will happen is his loan be renewed. We definitely don't sign him now, in my opinion. The most that gets happen is his loan renewed, and I even think Xavi would probably stray away from that. But it could be as an option, low cost, no cost, if we can't bring
Low
in an attacker.
cost. Yeah, that like I initially I'm with you on that. For João Felix, I think
Mm,
first move is you look at a loan, but it's a little bit of a gamble, right? Like if we don't have oh man, I am going so back and forth on this. If Barcelona sign a permanent left wing option, right? A Nico
yeah,
Williams comes to mind.
yeah,
Really, for me, he's the only realistic investment that Barcelona would make. Rafael Leao, way too expensive. Just stop it. Kvaratskhelia is a little bit closer, but he's still going to be somewhere between like 70 and 90 million,
yeah,
right? Nico Williams for 50. That's
yeah,
that's the one. If we're going to do it, right? If that is not the option, then we have Ansu coming back. But I think with Ansu coming back or not, I think we still look at João Felix at that point, right? Like if we're
yeah,
saying no to a signing and our options are Ansu Fati, work something out with João Felix or Vitor Roque, we start to look to work something out with João Felix, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's where the game begins for me. If I'm Barcelona, and I think João Felix is the future, there might be an argument made to try to buy him on the cheap now,
yeah, yeah,
as opposed to one more season on loan. Maybe he does pop off. Maybe a second season where he does feel more settled in. And then instead of getting him for what would have been like 20 million, 25 million, all of a sudden it's back up to 50, 60, 70 million to get him. Right. So I think a lot of it will depend on, do we actually see Zhao as the future? And can we, right, get a steal for his transfer value, given that, towards the end of the season here, despite showing up big in some matches early on, both Jows for me did not show up for Barcelona when it came down to crunch time.
yeah, exactly. Massive decisions to be made there. Um, with Barca's budget, I can't see them spending money on João Felix, to be honest, especially with Xavi staying. I think the most would be another loan. But it gets to an odd point where the selling club in that regard think, we don't get that much from another loan.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that about Cancelo as well. And I know Barca will be relying on loans for those two. I think, again, because if we want to be spending money, if we even have any, surely we want to actually put money into a DM, I hope.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point where it's like, well, Man City or Atletico Madrid might think, you know what, now you're not just having another cheap loan because we don't really get anything from this. We want that 30 million for Cancelo. Atleti want that 50 for João Felix, and I don't think Barca can offer that right now.
Serginho Dest getting injured, I don't know if you saw this,
I did.
is actually, I think, a huge blow for Barcelona.
Yeah,
Serginho Dest was having a great season at PSV, who's about to be top of the Dutch league.
yeah,
Um, he's going to be out till August or so. I don't know if Barcelona are going to be able to transfer him.
no, yeah,
Like, Barcelona might end up stuck with Serginho Dest because of this injury. I don't think that's going to be a blessing in disguise. I want to be optimistic about it, but for me, I'm seeing that as a $20 million loss for
Yeah,
Barcelona.
yeah, it is.
I think some mid-level club in Europe was going to get excited about Serginho Dest and give us 20 million.
Or PSV themselves.
Or PSV. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, he was doing good things for that club. You know what I mean? Like
Delivered. Yeah.
I don't think he can reproduce that at Barcelona.
No.
Particularly on the defensive side. That's where all the trouble comes in. But he's a talented player. He can do, he can have a pretty tremendous impact for a club in a smaller league, right? Smaller expectations. But for me, that's a huge hit that I don't think Barcelona fans really noticed right away, because the Serginho Dest injury maybe isn't on their Twitter feed right now. But for
Yeah.
me, that's a big loss. But yeah, that's a hit for me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, money from sales is the big question as well. There's got to be a few, like Julian Araujo from Las Palmas. People say about keeping.
Langley,
Yeah, people say about keeping Araujo. I don't think we will. Longley,
nope.
yeah.
Eric Garcia.
Another one, yeah.
I think we're missing like one player. I added it up at some point, and I was thinking that we could get maybe somewhere around like 70 million for our loanee players if we sold everybody that's out on loan right now. But Serginho Dest does take a chunk out of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get more than like 50, 55 million optimistically on the transfer market for some of those collectively for those players.
Yeah, I don't think that.
And that's if we get back to the 1-to-1 rule, right? Because apparently we're working out a new deal with Nike. We put a lot of pressure on them saying, oh, well, maybe we'll go look elsewhere at the end of this contract, this and that. So that'll be a nice little injection of money. And if we can get back to 1-to-1, we'll see. But I don't know. DM and left wing, is it strange to you at all? I know I'm just jumping all over the place. Is it strange to you at all that there are only two names really on the short list for Barcelona DM, Zubimendi and Onana? I know that Kimmich is floating around, but everyone immediately jumps on the fact that Kimmich is just a different version of De Jong. So
yeah.
Why is that such a short list for DMs?
Probably because there's not many actually who I think are attainable and who can perform in that role that Barca want them to perform in, and then also because of our financial situation, I suppose we can't even try and go near like a Rodri. But
yeah,
Zubimendi still would be the one for me. I just don't know if I can see it, honestly. I really, really don't. Where are Barca going to chalk that money out from? And he wasn't even that keen on coming last summer. So, but I think it's a position. I look at our team. I was even looking at it just before the podcast, and I thought that's what we need. If anything, really the way I'd see it, as I'd want a sub goalkeeper. I think someone to challenge ter Stegen. João Cancelo I would sign on a permanent. I think he covers both flanks. Wouldn't do anything else to the defence. In midfield, we need a DM, and then we need a left winger. That's all I do. What's that? 4?
Yeah.
When you put it like that, it's not that unattainable, but I know full well it just won't go that smoothly.
No, I think we're gonna sell an attacker.
Yeah.
I think we are. Realistically, I don't think it'll be Lewandowski.
No.
But I do think it'll be Ferran or Rafinha. I think one of them will be sold. Because
surely Rafinha has earned his place now for the last few weeks. But it's the way,
for me, yes. But
the way the Barca market goes, though, isn't it? It's everyone's opinions like 2 months ago. Obviously, Ferran after his hat trick against Betis, so he would have been the one staying. Obviously, like no way to sell him, and then now Rafinha is impossible to be sold because he's the best player at the club, and it's also like dramatic and up and down at Barca. I would trust in the players who we trust and not make any silly rash decisions like based on form. But
it really might just come down to who we get a better offer for, and if that player is willing to go to that club.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like you said, nobody can question Rafinha's commitment, loyalty, dedication to the club. It's a standout memory for me, him going and walking and standing in front of the supporters after the PSG match, and he didn't just go and clap and turn around and move on. No, he stood there And from what I was looking at, it seemed like he was looking every supporter in the eye, just
Mm-hmm.
going down the line, like just acknowledging that they should have done better, right? So you want that mentality, you want that dedication, you want that passion. At the same time, a business is a business, right? So if somebody came waving an $80 million check for Rafinha,
I know. Yeah.
you know, I don't like it. I would, for me, and maybe I'm only saying this because Booga's not here and I don't have to look at his face to say it, but I think I would sell Ferran before Rafinha. Even though I think Rafinha's value is going to be higher
Yeah.
than Ferran right now. And arguably, Ferran gives us a little bit more versatility, even though Rafinha showed he can play on the left.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Ferran can play across all three positions.
Yeah.
You know, I think Rafinha's value is going to be higher, but I think we can get. What do we pay for Ferran? Like 50, 55 million?
55s, yeah.
Gosh.
It's a lot.
That could be the difference too. Because let me say this and then get your point in. That's going to make a difference in terms of Barcelona trying to get again back to the 1-for-1. If we sell Ferran Torres, we're breaking even. If we sell Rafinha, it could more likely be for a profit because what do we pay for him?
50.
Was it also 50?
Roughly.
Yeah, so we can get 70, 75, 80 maybe for Rafinha. Again, I don't want to sell Rafinha, but business wise.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. They might have those decisions to make. At the same time, I think Xavi's staying. He would have had words and said that he doesn't want decisions being made that's going to weaken his team, but maybe they would have said, we can't promise that, you either stay on the current Barca terms or you don't stay. I don't know. But there's definitely, an element that Xavi would obviously be wanting to keep hold of his best players and not making a big sale, for the good of finances. I think Rafinha is I think he's such an asset that the club can't lose in this moment, actually. Someone who not only delivers that much on the pitch, and his numbers are good enough and performs almost every game, even if he's not being prolific every game, but is active every game and involved. And then also, like you said, the passion and commitment and loyalty, and someone who bleeds the badge like a Gavi does. I mean, to have that from just a guy who come from Leeds a few years ago, not even 2 years ago, it's something really special. And I think Barca have to keep hold of that. He feels like he's the guy who embodies the fan base right now, Rafinha. He's the guy that everyone gets behind. After those PSG games, was like, Rafinha's the guy who we're like putting on like a. Funny how like everyone he was being abused a few weeks ago, but that's our fan base, I suppose, isn't it? But like people can accept that he really is, he really does give his all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'd like to see him stay.
Yeah,
I'm worried there will be a tough financial decision made, but it would be for anybody. I mean, if you look at the fringe players that are, you'd think they're untouchable, but because of dire situations, maybe not. It's Ferran, it's Rafinha, it's Ansu Fati, it's Fermin Lopez for me. I wouldn't, but I said it before. I feel like there's gonna be a Thiago out of our midfield group. Frankie, Pedri, Gavi, Fermin. I don't know if all four are going to spend the rest of their career at Barcelona.
Mm. Yeah.
So, we shall see. I don't know. Do you have a preferred left wing option for Barcelona? Like out of, however we get João Felix, a Nico Williams, an Ansu Fati, a Vitor Roque, what would be your choice or your preference?
I think Nico Williams. If Barca can get him in, I think he adds another element to the attack where it's like, we've got our left winger set now for a long time. He plays that role to perfection, starts wide, comes inside, goals, assists, terrorizes his fullback. It's a Barcelona winger, I think, in the modern day. Him and Lamine on either side, like it is for Spain. It's really scary for opposition, it really is.
Yeah. I think I also would go Nico. If you can only have Nico or Zubimendi, who would you go for?
Zubimendi. I
think I'm with you on that too.
Just more important to the team. I think Barca could get away with either João Felix or Ferran or four midfielders, or Rafinha on the left and Lamine on the right. I really do. I don't know if Barca can get away with another season and not having a DM in front of that defence.
Yeah.
Someone to break up possession, circulate the ball, to start attacks, to give us structure in midfield, to allow our other midfielders to push on. We've missed that all season long.
We're jumping ahead on things, but this is just where my mind's going. Let's say we do sign Zubamendi. Who starts alongside him out of Frankie, Pedri, Gavi, Gundogan?
It's a problem. I know. I do agree. I do agree that is a problem. That is a big.
Like over the course of the season, everyone's going to get playing time, right? Injuries, number of matches in a given week, everyone's going to get playing time. But in those key matches, we're playing Real Madrid.
Yeah.
We're in the second leg of a quarterfinal in the Champions League. Who's playing with Zubamendi? I gotta say, Frankie and Gundogan.
And no Pedri and Gavi, really.
Right? Isn't that crazy to say though?
No, it can't be that. That is a problem. I agree with that. That is an issue. That is the only issue with that with the Zubimendi signing. If he then becomes like the set starter because he's like the piece we need, then you've got four midfielders who are four midfielders who need to be playing almost every minute when they're fit.
Yeah.
8 for 2 spots, and it doesn't really fit.
If we're gonna go Occam's razor on this, most likely outcome. I don't think we spend money on a left wing. I think we spend money on Zubamendi, knowing that we'll have the options of Ansu. Well, really, we'll have the options of Ferran, Rafinha, Ansu Fati, Vitor Roque can all play left wing. Or we go 4 in the midfield, knowing that we're going to have Zubamendi, De Jong, Gundogan, Pedri, Gavi, Fermin Lopez to choose from.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens. I think we sell our loan players. We buy Zubamendi. I want Nico Williams. I really, really do, but I don't think we get him. And I think honestly, I wouldn't hate seeing Lamine, Lewandowski, Ansu Fati as a front three, Zubamendi, Frankie de Jong, and Gavi as my midfield three.
Yeah.
Balde, Araujo, Koundé, Cancelo, or slide Kubarsi in there.
Yeah.
Take out Cancelo.
You got Christensen as well. You've got a lot of other good options. It's a very good squad. I think it's a few pieces away from being an excellent squad. And it's a squad that has to win titles. I think the same about this season. I think we've got a very good team. And we're a few signings away from, like I said, being a team who, should have aspirations to win everything. So it's a massive summer, but it's what our budget can allow. I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of this transfer window we got Guido Rodriguez on a free. If we renew the loan of João Cancelo, and if we renew the loan of João Felix. You know what I mean? No money spent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, what? Because that's
I don't know. Can Laporta go through a summer without some big news though? That's the question for me, right?
We didn't have much big news this summer, did we? I suppose the loans of like Cancelo and Felix on the last day were quite like, wow.
And the Vitor Roque carrot being dangled, right? Because we got him in January, but that was the excitement was building.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. Yeah. From even that point of view, he'll say I have to get like someone in. Yeah.
I'll say this: if it becomes that we don't get any new players in at Barcelona, if we're renewing or if we're getting another loan of João Felix or João Cancelo or I think the marketing maybe turns to Ansu Fati and giving him another chance. He's still our number 10 at the end of the day. Even the players recognize, right? Lamine Yamal was asked about it just a couple weeks ago. He goes, no, Ansu's our number 10, So I'm just looking at where can some excitement come from if we're not getting fresh faces, because that is part of the show, is summer transfer.
Yeah.
Get somebody's name up in lights.
Yeah. Sell tickets, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. Zubimendi is most likely. So we're in agreement then. If Zubimendi would be first signing, Nico Williams would be second signing.
Yeah.
But we're both not super optimistic that either are going to be signed for financial reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose like a final point for me before we wrap up is that I think the only good thing about Xavi staying is that the Barca roadmap sort of continues. I know Bulgar speaks about this roadmap a lot, and what I think he means by that is say Flick or Tuchel come in, they might not want to use Cubarsí as much. They might trust Inigo Martinez and Christensen a lot more. They might not want to play 4-3-3. And they think, forget Zubimendi, forget Nico Williams. I want like this monster DM next to De Jong to play as a double pivot, and like no, like Pedri, like you don't really fit like in the 4-2-3-1. So like, do you know what I mean? All of these things can happen. With Xavi, it feels like the roadmap we've now built in our head continues at least for another year. We know the signings he wants, like set in stone. It's funny, isn't it? We all like think like he wants to think like if Xavi can have his way, he'd also sign Nico Williams and Zubimendi. I promise you. And that's the way that's the way the fans think as well. Like, we think like through him. Like Xavi might not want to renew the loan of Felix, or he might want to renew the loan of Cancelo, or and I think we think through him. So I think that's the final thing I'll say is that the roadmap continues.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, and then we'll jump off. We are recording, of course, before this Valencia match.
Yeah.
Any quick predictions? Valencia sitting in 8th place right now. They got a European spot to fight for.
They do.
So what do you think? Opportunity for Barcelona to play some youngsters, a Vitor Roque, for example?
I don't think he will. No. I'm sorry. I genuinely think we're going to go out with the full team because I think we have to get second now. Girona won again yesterday. Was it a time of recording?
Yep.
They're back up to second now. We've got them at Montilivi in a week's time. Barca have to win tomorrow night, but I think it's going to be a really difficult one for the players to get up to. I think Valencia are going to be fired up. I think it could be a tough watch for a lot of Barca fans. But if it is going to be a win, it might end up being a narrow one for Barca where they have to scramble over the line. I don't know. Or maybe they'll be liberated and happy with Xavi staying. We just don't know. But I think it's going to be a difficult game against Valencia, who've improved as the season has gone on. How are you feeling? It's a weird time. But we're in a limbo now. We're sort of like season over, but we still have to play and like keep pride and get second. So it's like, what are we playing for?
Exactly. Second place is it, right? We have to get second place so that we can be in the Supercopa. If we don't get into the Supercopa, it has an immediate financial impact. So we do have to do that. So I'm with you that we might see a stronger team than maybe you'd expect. I think it's going to be hard for Barcelona to get up for this match. And for those reasons, I think if I'm Xavi, I'm actually going to go with some of my youngsters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, hey, you want to start earning some playing time for next season? It starts right now.
Yeah.
Go out there and earn it. Make sure that we don't drop points at home against Valencia. Go show me something.
Yeah.
Because you're right. We got to show up for this match. It's not going to be an easy win by any means.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree.
All right. So this will be dropping just shortly before match time.
Yeah.
So as you're listening, get your predictions down in the chat. Let us know, of course, your questions, your comments, your opinions. We love to hear from you. And Buga, if you're listening, we love you. We miss you. We'll all catch up. Hopefully next week. We'll get the three of us. We haven't really talked scheduling, but
I'll be
sooner rather than later.
I should be fine because it's Girona on Saturday night. I'll be we'll do a Sunday evening.
There we go. The Three Kings back in the pod studio. You heard it here. So make sure you tune in next week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next time right here on Más que un Podcast. Thanks, friends.
Peace.